I'm very pleased to have Captain Leo Walton with me today. Captain Leo was electrocuted, which resulted in a near-death experience, and he is here to share that with us today. Captain Leo, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to hear about your experience.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tia. It's nice of you to invite me to come here and share.
So take me back. What happened? You were electrocuted and crossed over.
Yes, I kind of, it was a summer, really hot summer period, and I was on my boat, and the third night that my air conditioning unit had shut down in the middle of the night, and I had purchased a boat from another gentleman who had upgraded the system. But once I went and started looking at the all of the mechanics and electrical systems, he did not upgrade the circuit breaker system. To keep a long story short, anyway, I decided I was going to go ahead and do that repair. But it was so hot; it was in the 100 degrees outside, and in the boat on the water, it really gets hot inside a boat. So I had to leave electricity on to leave other systems operating so I could stay partially cool. But anyway, so I was working on the panel with it apart and hot with my right hand in the panel, screwing on a circuit breaker. It was the last turn I was putting on it. And I had been wearing a magnetic bracelet on my left hand for a number of years because I drove 60, 70,000 miles a year. And I had kind of like that tennis wrist thing going on. It seemed to help with the pain. And I'd forgotten about it over the years. And the electricity arced out of the panel to the magnetic bracelet I had on. It actually blew one of the magnets out of the bracelet, but it melted the stainless steel bracelet off my wrist, which took 2,600 degrees to melt the stainless steel. So whatever hit me was really hot. It was 220, 50 amp electricity. And what I didn't realize is it had knocked me 13 feet. It knocked me unconscious. And when I came to, it was pitch black. So I was working on this about lunchtime. So had been out of unconscious for at least till darkness had set in. But I was in miserable pain when I finally came to and got my druthers about me and drug myself to bed, where I kind of was in and out of consciousness for 3 week period from because electricity came in my wrist and run up my arm through my brain and down my leg. So I had a traumatic brain injury. Had lots of grief over that for sure. Took me a year to relearn to read. I had to learn to talk, to walk, the whole 9 yards with that. So it was a several year, really major ordeal to just get my bearings and be able to read again. But my experiences as far as an NDE, I always felt like I was slighted. So many of these stories are so beautiful and wonderful, and all I seemed to experience was no memories and lots of pain, and aftermath was a lot of grief and suffrage. So what happened with me? My wife and I had separated at the time, and I was still trying to get back with her. But when she took me to the hospital, to the emergency room after 3 weeks, she told me the next day that she'd made up her mind and she definitely wanted a divorce because she was having to repeat herself. She said, I'm not going to live the rest of my life with a retard. But my brain was injured so bad that I never felt anything when she left. I was just, okay, see you later, you know. But 2 years later, I guess as my brain began to heal, I started having all of these memories that I could associate to my accident. And I was having spiritual events and all kinds of psychic paranormal events occur with me, and it was just like 2 years later. So it was really uncomfortable for me, and it took me a long time to figure out that it took me a while to learn to read. Well, it took me a while for my memory, I think, to come back too. But another thing, the reason I equate it to that period of time is at that same time, I started missing my wife so bad, as if she had just walked out the door that day. I just woke up and oh my God, where's my wife? You know, I miss her so bad. Where up to that time, I never missed her at all. So something in my brain finally healed that connectivity was made to the memories. I believe they were in there. They were just kind of inaccessible for me.
What kind of memories were you having about your near-death experience?
I had the one that was really spiritual. I had an encounter with Jesus, and it was bizarre to me. Uh, I, it was like a dream. I was sitting in this environment. It was like a big room with wooden benches in it. It was white. It was like a real, like a hospital type environment, it felt like. And anyway, I'm sitting there. Nobody's in the room but me. And here comes this old bum looking guy that looked like Jesus. His hair was really long, his beard was long, and his clothes, he was all dressed in white, but he was filthy, dirty, ragged. And he came and he never looked at me, and he sat directly across from me. And he just leaned over and put his chin on his hands and just sat there and stared at the floor. And he says, I don't like being this Jesus anymore. And that's all he said. And he stood up and walked as slowly and deliberately out of the room as he came in. It was really, really a bizarre experience for me. Um, we never had any eye contact. It's as if he just walked in the room to deliver a message and leave.
So Jesus walked in and he gave you this message. What do you think this message meant?
Well, I've talked it over a lot with my wife Heidi. She's very intuitive, and what she thinks happened to me, and also I became a yogi, so I went through a lot of training to become certified yogi. And then after that I became a Reiki master, and again it requires time and effort to put into those. My Reiki master kept telling me she thought I was a walk-in. That's for somebody that has a near death experience and another soul uh, possesses your body. And Heidi and I have talked about this quite a bit. She feels the same way because I've got a book that's at the publisher now. I write about the experiences that I had. It's called The Rare One. And I write in there that I got into a battle. Like I said, I was an athlete, very competitive, and I got into a battle. It was like it was two of me. I called it old Leo and new Leo, and I literally had to let old Leo die. I mean, the foods I liked, I didn't like anymore. Uh, TV programs that I used to watch, I didn't watch anymore. All my interests changed. Like I had no interest in doing anything with pyramids. It's just all of a sudden the pyramids just took over, and I became the mashed potato guy with that. And it'll be 17 years on the Lionsgate portal. That's when my accident occurred, was 8/8 Lionsgate in 2007. So this is my 17th year anniversary. As a matter of fact, I started having a second birthday a year, about 2 years after this accident, because I changed so much. I lost all my friends, even my family. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family now, since I changed so much. And I've got a pretty big family. I've got 2 sons, eight grandchildren, and a great grandchild. So it's not a small family. But they don't know how to act around me. I'm not the same person anymore.
Do you feel like your actual energy has changed, or is it just your preferences?
No, absolutely my energy changed. That was a part of it. One of the symptoms I had from the electricity was I lost all feeling. It shorted out my sympathetic system in your spine, in the back of your head, and I didn't have any feeling in my body for 5 months. I could walk outside. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't feel the wind in my hair. I couldn't feel the sun on my face or anything. It was really, really a bizarre experience. The only thing I could feel was pain inside. If you walked up to me and, put pressure on me and punched me or something, I could feel that. But to feel on the skin sensitivity, I lost all of that in my whole body. So it just came back really instantly. One night I was going to bed, and as I was taking my pants off, I felt my hand rub across my leg. And next thing I know, I was naked and rubbing all over because I hadn't felt my body in 5 months. It was, I just started shouting, I'm alive, I'm alive.
Wow, what an incredible experience that must have been to be able to
Yeah.
feel
But what
your skin again.
it was really bizarre, but what happened to me the next morning, I got up and I went to make my morning coffee and have it in the front in the saloon of my boat. And the refrigeration compressor cut on the refrigerator, and when it did, it like sent me into the floor in pain. I could feel the frequency of the reciprocating motor. It was very disturbing. But what happened to me at the time, I believe what saved my life, Tia, and I didn't realize what had happened to me. During the time, I woke up when I was laying on the floor after I'd been knocked across the boat in the dark, and I ended up on my back, and I arched back, and I took in, I remember the deepest breath I've ever taken in my life. So doctors and everybody say whenever you get electrocuted, you have a heart attack anyway. Just if you're lucky, it just starts back up on its own. But a lot of times you go into respiratory arrest as well. And I think what happened is, I don't know if you've heard in the Vedic system with yoga and all, of a Kundalini awakening, is what they call it. So I believe I had a sudden Kundalini awakening, which I ended up having more energy in my body than I ever had to begin with, and that really it used to take I used to feel like I was possessed. I'd have a seizure. I'd find myself in the floor, and I was doing yoga asanas, and I didn't know I was doing yoga asanas because I'd never taken yoga. And once I got into it, I learned a lot about what had happened to me, because that Vedic system yoga, people don't realize, was created over a long period of time with these ancient sages, watching these people have these Kundalini awakenings, and what their bodies was doing, the contortions, is actually they created yoga from that to prepare people, all of their energy pathways with their immune systems all are benefited, and they get aligned when you do yoga. So that's what they were trying, because the Kundalini energy, which rests at the bottom of our spine in our sacral chakra, It's a biochemical energy. But once it's released, average human, our energy system, and I've studied a lot on this over the years, is about equal to a 100-watt incandescent bulb. We all know what those are. We use them in our house, to light our house at night, or a lamp even. But what happens with Kundalini energy is it multiplies that energy 10 times. So what happens if it's a sudden Kundalini awakening? All of a sudden now, instead of 100 watts going through your body, it's 1,000 watts running through your body. And working with Dr. Grayson, who's written a lot of work on NDEs out of the University Medical College in Charlottesville, Virginia, working with him and doing some studies with him. One of his books, he claimed the research he's done over the last couple decades, that 30% of all mental patients that are in America are in there because they've had sudden Kundalini awakenings, and it causes them to go psychotic. And what they do to treat you, they put you in a hospital, put you on medication, and that's usually the best your life gets. But I learned to heal myself and to overcome those obstacles, which I feel very lucky about. And I want other people to know about this also.
So you had this Kundalini awakening while you were being electrocuted?
Well, afterwards, I believe that's what made me start breathing again. I did a lot of research on it once I delved into that particular genre. And that is something that a Kundalini will awaken to save your life under certain circumstances. That I don't think anybody really knows. If you're lucky enough or something, that switch gets thrown, I guess. But I'm lucky to be here. I've seen 40 doctors over the years. I've had every kind of test you can have, and the common denominator with the doctors is my private doctor, my personal physician said, Leo says, nobody knows what to do with you. You're not supposed to be here. She says, everybody that's had that kind of electrical shock, she says, I have to raise a sheet off their face to identify them.
You are very lucky.
Very lucky guy, yeah. And I lost everything. I lost my marriage. I lost my business. I lost myself in it. But I ended up, once I made peace with the fact, I said, because I got really suicidal, got really depressed, uh, uh, with a brain injury, with my particular brain injury. Uh, you're really stupid after you have that kind of injury. But what was happening with me is the doctors told me, so what happens? Electricity killed billions of brain cells that moment, but it damaged billions others that started dying. And every day for 6 months, I just got dumber and dumber and dumber. I just couldn't. I was always a very physical, proud man, and man, all of a sudden, I'm just people talking for me, putting words in my mouth, and I had a really bad cussing problem. I had a real tick. All of a sudden, every other word was a cuss word. So I was kind of not a pleasant person to talk with. So that's why I lost a lot of my friends, because I just became this agitated, filthy mouth individual. I used to call it the lean. I'd be talking to my friends, and they do this head back. I used to call it the lean. I said, everybody I talk to does the lean on me, where they look down at you like, whoa, this guy's really peculiar or strange. So but once I took let's say, took control of my new life and said, you know what? I need to look at this differently. Once I had recovered, got to where I could read and was actually learning things to benefit myself, and I felt engaged in my recovery. I said, you know, I'm very lucky. I said, I have a clean slate. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I said, I have the capability to become anybody I want to be. So I became a yogi. I became a Reiki master. And I started to write poems. As a matter of fact, that book, the rare one, I started writing poetry. I'd never written poetry. And when I was editing the book, the rare one, to send to the publisher, I was editing the poetry at the same time, kind of the two projects together. And I realized that these poems I had written occurred at certain events because I journaled for a couple years my recovery so I could remember it because I had such bad memory issues for a while. So I journaled it. And when I started editing the book and looking at my poems, I said, man, that poem was written at this time. So what I did, I took about 75 or 80 of those poems I'd written and I put them in the book. So they're spaced all through the book at the same time frames that these events were going to. So it's a different perspective on the same events. So it's my art, I guess, is what I've created with that. We'll see how it turns out when it's published.
That's great.
but,
I
it,
think that's amazing.
but it's a happy story. It starts out really catastrophic, but it has a happy ending to it. And I think that's the reason I was so intent on writing that particular book. I published my first book in 2020 from experiments I did to try and cure. When you get electrocuted, the electricity running through your eyeballs causes you to develop cataracts really quickly. And what had happened to me is I was losing my vision because cataracts were growing so fast. And I had I literally had three optometrists, three different ones that I went to. Two of them at first over a couple years, and they both said, "Leo, you need to have total lens replacement. The cataracts are just gonna get worse and worse, so you will have to make a time to do that." So anyway, I did a lecture with the IANS International Association Near Death Study people at Edgar Casey's ARE, his headquarters in Virginia Beach. I was really honored. They invited me to come and tell my near death stories and injuries and to actually introduce my pyramid theories on the Giza Plateau. So I got to do that. And while I was there, I was telling of some research I was doing on ancient sun gazing, which is called Surya Yoga, is what that's called. And I said they promise all these miracles by staring naked eyed at the sun to remove cataracts. So I got really interested in that. And at that lecture I did at ARE, there was an optometrist in the audience. And at the end that I gave the workshop, at the end, he came up to me, he said, Leo, he says, man, he said, I'm an optometrist. I'm really curious about your eyes and the sun gazing. He says, I'd be real interested if you'd come to my office. And he was in another city away and let me look at your eyes. So I did. And I hooked up with him. He was the third guy. He literally took a pencil out and drew a diagram of how bad the cataracts were on my eyes. And I just started doing this sun gazing, and he says, you definitely need. So three people now have told me that you need cataract surgery. So I said, you know, I'm really into this experience of sun gazing and really enjoying it. I'd like to give it a shot. And well, it took me 18 months to do two sun gazing experiments, which I got up to the ability of being able to stare at the sun naked eyed for 45 minutes duration. There's safe ways to do this, which I learned from a Indian guru. He became my guru in Kerala, India. And I dedicated my book to him because I gained so much. But what happened with me? I went 18 months and my vision got worse. So I went to my first optometrist who was in my primary care system, you know, in America, how the health system works. And he wrote me a prescription to go to a surgeon. So I went to the surgeon. I timed the time I wanted to have the surgery over the holidays because you got to do one eye and wear a patch and then another. So you're blind for a while. So I went to this eye surgeon, went through all this tests. When we get done, I'm sitting in the chair. He's in front of the computer. He gets a little pad, a little white pad out. He writes on it and hands it to me. And I look at it. I said, "Why did you write me a prescription for glasses?" I said, "I'm here for lens replacement." I said, "I could have gone to any." I said, "I've already seen 3 optometrists. I could have gone to them. They got glasses. What the hell? What's up, dude? You know?" I was really upset. He says, "Leo," he says, he got on the computer again. He says, "I'm going to tell you right now." He's looking at the information on my eyes. He says, on a scale of 0 to 4, 4 being the worst, he says, your left eye is a 0. He says, you don't have any cataracts on your left eye. He says, your right eye, he says, he holed and hummed a little bit. He said, okay, I give you a good solid 1. He says, you're not a candidate for cataract surgery. I was so upset when I left there. It was on the way home that I realized that my experiment was a success. I removed all the cataracts. So I took that prescription and I took it to the eye doctor, a different eye doctor than him, damn it. And I got the new prescription and I wore that prescription for 4 years without going to the doctor. And Heidi and I were in London. We hub out of London because she has a business here. And anyway, so she was complaining about her eyes being a little bad, and I said, "Well, we're going to Egypt for a couple months. You know, let's both of us." I said, "My vision has gotten a little puny. I think I'll go get it checked. It's been 4 years, which is a long time if you wear glasses." So anyway, we go to the optometrist together and do the testing. I get done. I'm sitting in a chair, and the doctor, he goes, snatches his glasses off, shakes his head. He says, "Leo," he says, "I've been doing this 25 years." He said, I've never seen this before." He said, "The reason you can't see is because your glasses are too strong." He says, "Your eyes have improved so much, those glasses are too strong for you. So does sun gazing make your eyes better? You tell me." I say, "Yes, it does." I'm going on I'm going on 3 years now with these glasses that he gave me because I still sungaze.
Do you feel like your eyes continue to improve?
Yes, absolutely.
What
I
about
don't give
Heidi?
the Heidi, well, she's not a sun gazer. Yeah, she hadn't got into it good. Well, let me tell you, it's hard for anyone to be a sun gazer in the UK, particularly in London. It's just eh, I call it the land of no sun. It's really, really, people don't realize London, if you draw a line all the way across, go across America, it actually hits an island right off the coast of Alaska. So it's really far north. So you don't get the sun like you do. Like our way, Georgia, and where I live on Chesapeake Bay, 215 days a year of sunshine.
Mhm.
Here, I looked it up. I said, well, what's it like in London? It gave me the answer in hours. It's kind of funny.
Very interesting. Your whole story is just so fascinating, and I really appreciate you sharing it with me today and with my viewers as well. If my viewers wanted to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Won't you put best way because I travel so much is please feel free to put out my email. And we've got a couple sites that we're doing. Facebook, they can even Facebook me if they're interested in following our research and my rants that I go on Facebook with. But we're working on a web page. My wife and I both were both into research. She's actually a massage therapist and a Roma therapist and a healer into the hearing. She does tarot readings. We travel all over the world. She does tarot reading, card readings on top of pyramids. She's the only one doing this kind of tarot readings all around the world. But please, for now, put my email. You've got my email address, Captain Leo. Put that on there. It's a good way for me to begin communication with people. Because when I'm traveling, I carry two different phones, but a lot of times you're up depending on Wi-Fi at the locations that we're at, and a lot of times it's remote, so I can keep up with the email anywhere I go better, and then make arrangements to communicate. And I've enjoyed the conversation too. Thank you for having me.
If you had one message that you wanted to leave with the viewers, one message that you would hope they would take away from what we talked about today, what would it be?
Well, I think it would be the same anywhere you are, is live in the moment right now because it can change so quickly. This is what my near death experience taught me is, I mean, I was on my knees working in a puddle of sweat, and the next thing my life changed. And it was a really catastrophic event that had a really happy ending. And it became a happy ending because I started paying attention to myself and my happiness at the present moment.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for,
Thank you. And you have a good night, and I hope to chat with you soon, Tia.
thank you. You too. Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.